Hey everyone, my name is Lily and I'm the book blogger behind Utopia State of Mind, and today I'm going to share with you 20 2020 debuts that I really loved. So this is by no means an exhaustive list of all the 2020 debuts I really loved. These were just my top 20, and it was really hard to condense the list into just 20 books. So I tried really hard, and this is going to be a really long video, so I'm going to try to keep everything brief because you can find kind of full-length reviews of these on my blog. I will leave the links below. You can also find me talking about these books in my 5-star 2020 read videos, so I will link the appropriate videos down below. I'm going to attempt to lift up all of the books that I mentioned in the video, which actually isn't even all the books. So all 20 books, it's not even. I'm so weak. So weak. Okay. Woo! That was close. I feel like I'm gonna have to go back. So here are all the books I'm talking about today. This is, as I said, not 20 books. You can count. It's not 20 books. I don't know if I can hold 20 books. But these are the ones that I have. Unfortunately, not all of them, but one day I will have all 20 here. So without further ado, let's just get started. So the first one that I'm mentioning has to be Chloe Gong for These Violent Delights. You heard me kind of talk so much about how much I love These Violent Delights, so I don't really actually know what to say anymore, but why this debut kind of made this list is because Chloe's writing is so atmospheric. I love how Chloe took her own ideas about her story and then integrated the Romeo and Juliet elements into it to make just a really unique story that had elements of things that you would recognize, but also completely gone in a new direction. And I'm so excited for the sequel. I need it now, basically, and so that's why this is on my list. The next one has to be The Silence of Bones by June Her. I loved how mysterious this book was. A lot of these authors are kind of authors that I've interacted with, whether it be reviews or even just during the debut process, so that's kind of why they're on my list. There are also a lot of debuts I love that are not on the list, so as I said, this is by no means an exhaustive list, but June is just such a kind person, and I've been following June's debut process for a while, and I'm so excited for The Force of Stolen Girls. So in general, I just really loved how with June's debut, it just was such a unique story, and I really appreciate how June came right out of the gates raring with this super unique angle, kind of this historical fiction mystery in South Korea, and so it was just so fabulous to read. And as I said, I'm just really excited for the rest of June's book. The next one has to be Andrea Tang for Rebel Wing. I love all of the sci-fi that I read basically in 2020, and Rebel Wing has to be one of my favorite ones. I really love sci-fi. I just love it so much, and I'm so excited that there were just so many great reads that I had in 2020 for just debuts, but also just reads in general. And Andrea is just an author that I've also kind of interacted with in the process. I did an interview with Andrea. I'm just so obsessed with unique story ideas, and Rebel Wing definitely is one of the top kind of unique ideas that I had in my reading year for 2020. The next one has to be Suzanne Park. This is Suzanne Park's debut. Since this one, I've read other books by Suzanne Park, and so I think a lot of these other authors that you'll see are authors that I will continue to follow. And I think part of what I love about following debut authors in general is that I can read a debut and really love it, and I was gonna say witness the character growth, but they're not characters, they're real people. Witness the author growth and development and their career as they kind of go on. I really love doing that with other authors like Rosa Lim. I could do an entire video basically about 2019 debuts that I really loved reading, their sophomore second book kind of thing. So please let me know down below if you'd like to see that video. But I've read other books by Suzanne Park now, and I just love how The Perfect Escape kind of brings an added element to the contemporary kind of rom-com-y story with kind of the mechanical, robotic, zombie-esque things. And also, if you look at most of this list, the majority of the list are Black, Indigenous, people of color, and also the majority of the list were also Asian, quote, in parentheses, American voices. I just really love being able to celebrate these diverse voices, especially as a debut when it really matters, but also recognizing the fact that there can be a lot of hype for debuts, and so recognizing the fact that these kinds of authors also need like promotion and sort of support throughout their author journey in general, because there is a lot of hype over debuts, and so not as much hype over second and third books, and even more books. So going back to the topic of The Perfect Escape, I just really love this book, and it makes me like so warm and happy on the inside. The next one has to be Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelas. I loved this book so much. Talk about atmosphere. I don't know if you can like guess from the cover how atmospheric it was, but that's also a quality that I really love in most of these debut books, is just there's a really unique kind of idea, and then B, the writing. So basically that can give me a really good indicator of whether I'll like future works from an author. And so Where Dreams Descend had both of these. The atmosphere was there, and it was just so fantastic to read, and also the idea of this unique world of like magic, performance magic, but also real magic. And I'm also a sucker for ambitious girls, and Where Dreams Descend has a fantastic heroine character which has to kind of struggle with being ambitious and what that means for her. And so just loved it so much. I'm so excited for the sequel and the rest of the books, basically, in general, from all of these authors. The next book is from Adiva Jayagradar, and this was The Henna Wars. I'm so excited for Adiva's second book. 2020 was a really hard year for debut authors in general, and what I really loved about Adiva was how involved she was in like the book blogging community, especially around her launch, and just involved in like virtual events. I think that it's been a really difficult year for book releases, but also debut authors, and so that's why on my blog I've been trying to ramp up kind of author content, so interviews and guest posts, because I realized that it's been really hard. And so that's kind of a hidden joy, I guess, to the pandemic. So I really loved being able to feature the Henna Wars. I love the influx in queer contemporaries, and so I just knew that the Henna Wars had to make the list. And I'm also so excited for, as I said, Adiva's second book. I really loved I'll Be the One by Lila Lee. I gotta admit, I'm not like a huge K-pop person. It's not that I don't like K-pop, I just haven't listened to it as much as I should be to like call myself a fan, essentially. I'll Be the One was just so cute, and it was also like a book that had so much heart. I really loved how I'll Be the One kind of balances all of these different layers and these different complexities. So yes, kind of an ambitious main character, dealing with her mom's lack of acceptance over her dreams, and also the fat phobia kind of element as well. So that's why I really loved I'll Be the One specifically, and I'm really excited to see what other books Lila Lee has in store. The next one has to be from Shweta Thakrar, and this is Star Daughter. It is such a beautiful cover, but it's a little bit difficult for the lights to handle. I guess what I really loved is that I had read a previous short story from Shweta in 1,000 Beginnings and Endings, so this is kind of an example of an author where I had read other work from them, not like, novel length work, but other work. And so I was so excited for this debut, and that's kind of how I was introduced to this. And then when I heard about the different elements to this story about, balancing your family and the complex history and your own ambitions and like a magical kind of talent competition, I was just so excited for it in general. And so yeah, I just wanted to include this as well because it was kind of an example of how I can also find debut authors. I think often that I find out about a debut author, when I hear about an announcement, and then I kind of follow that author, and then I see them on social media, and then I finally are able to read their debut and then maybe interview them. And that's kind of the process for most of these authors that I've gone through. Shweta, it was a little bit different because I had read her work in the other anthology, and so that's kind of one of the joys of anthology reading, is that you discover new authors and sometimes even authors where they don't have any published work yet. The next one has to be Julie Abe. I really loved Julie's debut because it had all of these like Kiki's Delivery Service vibes, but Julie is one of those authors where I actually won a giveaway for an arc of the first one, but Julie is one of those authors where I just admire how active Julie is on social media and also just in general, like in the bookish community. And so it was one of those books where I had seen the author around quite a lot, and I had seen Bookstagram kind of talk about the debut a lot. And so when I was finally able to read the first one, because I was involved in a book tour for the cover reveal of the second one, I was really excited to be able to finally read the book, and I really loved it. And so I don't have that many kind of middle grade debuts on this list. I think this is one of two, but I'm very excited for the second book and just in general, like the other future projects from Julie. Hi, this is Adiva Lily. I just wanted to say that I completely, when I was filming the whole Julie Abe section, forgot that it was Ava Evergreen, Semi-Magical Witch. And I just wanted to pop in and just say that is the title. I forgot. I literally just sat here and was like, I cannot remember it. Didn't have enough brain cells, essentially. So, bye. I really enjoyed Raybearer by Jordan E. Fueco. I don't have a copy with me, but I really enjoyed it, and it was one of those books where I love being surprised by books. And what I mean is like one of those books where you're reading a little bit of it and you think, okay, I've got a handle on what's gonna happen, you know, the characters, whatever. And then there's like this switch, and then you're just completely surprised by the way it's going. And that was definitely how I felt with Raybearer, because I thought that I had like gotten a handle on what was gonna happen, and then I was so shocked. Like when I finished it, I was like, oh, there's gonna be a sequel, and then I was saying it out loud to people, and then they were like, oh, I don't think there will be a sequel. At least it wasn't, I guess, on Goodreads at the time, but I was kind of like, well, there has to be a sequel based on that ending. Like I need a sequel, so I'm gonna speak it into existence. And so that's definitely why Raybearer had to make the list. I also loved how Jordan did this tutorial about how she like made her hair and her makeup and stuff match the cover. So, you know, it's fun when I can attach like a certain memory of a person or a book to, you know, something else essentially. Switching gears to contemporaries is You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. I just have loved this book so much. I love how active Leah is on social media in general, and it was just another one of those books where I'd seen Leah a lot on social media. I knew that I wanted to read the debut. I wasn't sure if I could get my hands on it, and then I was finally able to read an arc of it because of kind of like persistent nagging, I guess. And then once I read it, I was like, okay, I'm instantly sold. I love this so much. You Should See Me in a Crown has this great balance between characters, between plot, like a action-y plot, and also just the writing was so fabulous, and I can't wait to see what other books Leah has in store, because this one was just so amazing. One of the books I knew I was going to love before I even read it, essentially, was Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. Yeah, this was just a thing where I'd like heard about the book, I'd heard panels from the author speaking on the book, and I was just like, yep, I'm gonna love it. And I read it, and I loved it. And it was also one of those books where I was so happy about the like outpouring of support for Aiden. I've loved what Illumicrate has done with their debut boxes, and so I saw that one and I was like, yes, I have to do it. Aiden had some fabulous pre-order art and pre-order pin kind of art things, and so it was just one of those happy storms where it was like, I like everything about this I really like. And so that's definitely kind of one of the memories I have associated with Cemetery Boys. And in general, Cemetery Boys is just such an emotional book that I just loved, because it's about trying to kind of grapple with change within a culture, and also trying to grapple with self-acceptance and like romance storylines and friendship groups and like all of those different things all kind of like wrapped into one gorgeous book. I really love when an author can combine two different kind of elements into one. So what I loved about Legendborn and Tracy Denon is that Tracy was able to combine this kind of like Arthurian magical system with also this setting of being in the South and looking at the ways in which privilege and oppression and racism kind of have interwoven with magic. And this kind of dual, I love how I'm doing this because it's kind of like the art on the cover, but this kind of dual wielding, expertly crafting, you know, unique world building, all of those different, you know, keywords. are part of why I loved Legendborn so much. And it was also something where I didn't realize how strongly Arthurian magical kind of esque thing it was until I read it. And then I was like, oh, I get it. I really like this. But then why I really loved Legendborn definitely comes down to the fact that it is so aware of kind of the history we're walking on and the oppression that we're walking on, how only certain people are chosen to be like the chosen ones, essentially. And so I just cannot wait for the rest of Tracy's books, because this concept and this like expertly aware magical world building was just so compelling to me. Talking about compelling world building, I really loved the Blaze Wrath games by Amparo Ortiz. I've just love dragons. Okay, I think that there have been a lot of recent kind of need for kind of magical school, magical worlds that feel a lot like certain other well-known, hyped magical world, magical series books. And I definitely think that the Blaze Wrath games is one of these. Actually, the Blaze Wrath games, and then the next book I want to talk about, which is Amari and the Night Brothers, are just such fantastic comps to this idea, to this like kernel of this kind of societally contemporary setting merged with magic, and like all of these things just so expertly done. And the Blaze Wrath games also has dragons, and it was definitely gave me like a magical sports comp vibe. I'm not like naming anything that doesn't deserve to be in this very positive, fun video, but it definitely gave me those vibes. And Amparo has just been so lovely, right? This talk about like another experience that has definitely cemented itself in my mind. When I first started my YouTube channel, as you can see, one of the most fun conversations I had was with Amparo, and we were talking about blazers and how much we love blazers and how it's hard to find blazers and like the fit of blazers, because basically I have this really gorgeous yellow blazer on in the video, and it's probably my favorite blazer, period, because it's just so fun, and it's also a longer blazer. And okay, whatever, I don't need to talk about the blazer. My point is, I love when you're reminded about the actual kind of humanness to an author. I think it's interesting how we can think about books and authors and their worlds and their ideas and stuff, and connected versus not connected. But it's just so lovely to then also have just very real conversations with authors. That's kind of one of my favorite elements of social media, is being able to talk with authors, yes, about their books, but also just kind of talk with them in general as, you know, like awkward book-loving human beings. And so definitely what I love is having these kinds of, you know, human moments, essentially. So I guess I'll just talk about Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. I love Amari and the Night Brothers. I read an arc of this, and then I kind of screamed about it a lot, and then I'm so happy that it's done so well, because, as I said, it definitely gives this kind of like urban fantasy, magical system, magical bureaucracy vibe. It's always so difficult to like talk about these things without mentioning like the things. But anyway, it is so fabulous. It's the other middle grade. Or wait, no. I had 3 middle grade debuts that I really loved, or debut authors that I really loved. So Amari is the fabulous middle grade series starter, and I cannot wait for the, you know, the sequel. I hope that it's a longer series than just 2. I can't wait for it, because Alston is able to kind of talk about magical prejudice and, you know, magical expectations, and while also talking about Amari and the racism that Amari faces kind of in her daily, you know, non-magical life as just a black girl. And I really loved how Alston was able to mix these two concepts together. It kind of goes back to why I really loved Legendborn. That was one of the reasons why I loved Amari and the Night Brothers so much. So the next one is the last middle grade debut I have on my list, and it's from Claribel Ortega, and it is Ghost Squad, an author on social media that I admire so much. Claribel has done so much online, social media, podcasts, Twitter, like all of these different things. And so I knew about Claribel actually before I really knew about Ghost Squad. And so it's just a great example of like creating a name, creating a reputation, and you know what I mean, like a presence on the internet. Clarabelle is so nice, and I just, every time that we have conversations about books or even the publishing industry, like it's just so fun. And then I was able to read Ghost Squad, and everything kind of just cemented, and my love for this book just grew and blossomed. Like I already thought I was gonna love this book before I read it, and then I read it, and then I loved it. You know, it's just one of those magical experiences where you think you're gonna love a book, and you love a book. I also listened to this on audiobook. The audiobook narration for it was really amazing. And so yeah, Clarabelle is definitely an author that I'm going to keep, you know, my eye on. If you love the old guard and have been searching for like a YA that gives you those vibes, The Gilded Ones gives me those vibes. I watched The Old Guard when it came out. I watched it twice. Essentially, The Old Guard just kind of became one of those things where I would like watch and then essentially just like fall asleep too, because I knew what was gonna happen. Then I read the comic books, and then I read like the comic books that came out last September, so I would know, you know, where the potential sequel, if there was gonna be a sequel to The Old Guard, would go. And so The Gilded Ones just gave me those vibes. So Namina Forna's debut, The Gilded Ones, has just the old guard vibes mixed with this feminist world, and also mixed with this intensely kind of gendered sexist world in which the power that girls might have, they're just judged for that beforehand, and they're judged as like dangerous, monstrous. And so The Gilded Ones is one of those perfect storms that just had everything I was looking for, right? Girls taking on the patriarchy, old guard vibes, and then discussions about monstrous women, monstrous girls. Like it just had everything I was looking for. And so I'm just so impressed with Namina's attention to world building, and also just like attention to unique ideas. It was also one of those books where basically around halfway or maybe 2/3 of the way, I was just so shocked by like the twists that it was going in. And so yeah, I just really need to read the rest of them essentially, like right now. I think I will forever have really great memories for Jamie Paxton, or of Jamie Paxton, because I remember reading an arc of The Life and Medieval Times of Kit Sweetly that is Jamie Paxton's debut, and I really loved it so much. I loved how Kit kind of talks about addressing like the sexism, you know, in the royal court, like medieval, I don't really know what to call it, like I don't want to say medieval role playing, but like in that, you know, in that sphere. But also Jamie has such a way with endearing, compelling, relatable characters. I'm so excited for Lucky Girl. And also in general, I've loved doing kind of interviews. With Jamie, I'm on Jamie's street team. I was able to host Jamie's Lucky Girl like cover reveal. So I have just so many fond memories with Jamie, book-wise, person-wise, like blog kind of milestone-wise. And it's just so fabulous to kind of have all of those memories wrapped up in a specific author and be able to kind of follow that author as they go along. And yeah, I'm just really excited for Lucky Girl essentially. We're almost done. We're about halfway through. You can make it. Refresh your, you know, cup of coffee, get yourself another snack, and so let's keep going. The next one is Beyond the Ruby Veil by Mara Fitzgerald. I love how chaotic and how bloody and how intense this story is. Why I love this book and why I'm just so attracted to Mara Fitzgerald's work in general has to be just the fact that you can read, or I can read, a bunch of stories about selfless heroes, selfless heroines, selfless main characters who are just so willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good, for all these people. They're like one of those people where it's just like, oh, you know, I want everyone to come out alive. I care about every single life. And okay, I get it. I care about lives too. I care about doing good stuff as well. But reading Beyond the Ruby Veil was a breath of fresh air, because it was featuring a main character who was like, I'm gonna go where I'm gonna go, and I'm going to pursue my goals however I'm gonna do, and if there's some blood, if some people die and they get in my way, that's just it. And it was just such a breath of fresh air to read. I'm so excited for future books from Mara, because I really loved seeing this different portrayal of this main character and just also this different portrayal of characters in general. It was just so unique, and I remember reading it and being like, yes, I love it, I want more. I think I basically read this in one sitting. I was just so obsessed. And finally, we have Rebecca Coffindaffer. This has to be, let me just look on my list. This has to be the debut here that made me cry. So basically, Crown Chasers is the first in Rebecca's series, sci-fi series, and it's one of those rare first book things where, yeah, I cried / teared up by the end. I was just so obsessed with A, how Rebecca talks about the sci-fi world in general, but also B, Rebecca's characters are just so endearing and so fantastic to read about. That's kind of why I got super emotional. I don't want to spoil any of the book for you, but I got very emotional about the characters, and yeah, it was just something that completely swept me away. It has this treasure hunting, scavenging, puzzly, mystery, kind of Hunger Games-esque vibes meets space. And so it's basically everything I wanted in a book. I am so excited for the sequel. I just, gotta read it right now, essentially. So this brings me to the end of my 20 debut authors I read in 2020 that I really loved and that I want to continue reading. Don't know what the full title will be. Up here, you'll see what the full title ended up being. I hope you had a really great time watching. There were also so many other authors that I wanted to include on this list, but I had to keep it down to 20. I was thinking about trying to do multiple videos, but I had to keep it down to 20. Please let me know down below if you had any 2020 debut authors that you really loved, because 2020 was a rough year for everybody. Also books, authors, debuts, etc. So I'd love to kind of continue showering the support and love. As always, I will leave the books and links and people and my links and everything down below. I hope you had a great time, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!